that this generation owes the generation that fought for the political freedom of Kenya the debt of fighting for the economic freedom of our country. As you lead us, Your Excellency, I am satisfied that we are on a course of paying the historical debt of our forefathers who fought for the freedom of Kenyans to govern their own affairs and to rule themselves. We are paying that debt by ensuring we also provide economic freedom to Kenya and its people. Number two, Your Excellency, in that journey, I am equally persuaded that we as a country, and with you as our leader, we are also creating a more inclusive Kenya. From an economic standpoint, for a long time, the investment of national resources, especially in supporting the value chains from where the majority of our people derive their income, those resources have sometimes forgotten certain sectors. I am glad, under your administration, Your Excellency, we are spending more money, not only to strengthen the traditional value chains in tea and coffee and all the other important crops grown in our country, not just in livestock development, but we are also spending enough resources to provide support to fisher folk and make sure our country maximizes from our blue economy resources. Finally, Your Excellency, as we live and travel this journey, it is also clear on us that between yourself and His Excellency Raila Odinga, you are speaking to our nation so that we can forge closer ties among ourselves as citizens of Kenya, reduce barriers brought about by politics, ethnicity, religion. And going forward, Your Excellency, we look forward to your partnership, yourself and His Excellency Raila Odinga, and the rest of us who are fortunate to be in leadership positions, to build a more united Kenya, a more inclusive Kenya, where one's place of birth, religion, ethnicity doesn't have to count. Rather, their merit and what they bring on board in the contribution of our national development is what matters. I want to appeal that we also bring on board all generations, so that the younger people, the older people, the children, and even the generations to come, we all find ourselves in that one ecosystem, because we all belong to this country. No generation is superior to the other. The older people have a role to play. The younger people have a role to play. Our children have a role to play. Even the unborn, when they arrive in the world through Kenya, they will have a role to play. Nakushukuru Mheshimiwa Rais, na mimi nataka nikuambie nitaendelea kusaidia vile unajaribu kuunganisha Kenya. Nimshukuru mzee wetu Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, ambaye ni kiongozi amesukuma siasa ya Kenya kwa muda mrefu, before some of us even arrived in the scene. But he is courageous enough, patient enough, all the time to consider Kenya greater than each one of us. Na kwa hayo mengi, Mheshimiwa Rais, allow me, fellow Kenyans, that we be upstanding as we invite President William Ruto to come and address us. Wapi shangwe na vigelegele jameni? Asanteni sana. Welcome, Mr. President.
Your Excellency, President Natasha Pirsi Musa from Slovenia, our special guest in this 62nd Madaraka Day here in Homa Bay. Your Excellencies, honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the great people of Homa Bay and Kenya, hamjambo. Homa Bay hoye. Amoso u jodurwa. Jodurwa untie. Jodurwa umor. Jodurwa oil. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Asanteni sana. Kwanza, kabla sijasoma taarifa yangu ya siku ya leo, in our midst, we have a friend of Kenya, a great lady who has paid us a visit. When I invited her to come, she was gracious to consider time to come and fellowship with us. And more importantly, she agreed to be a special guest on this Madaraka Day in Homa Bay. Your Excellency, Madam President, we honor you. We are grateful for your consideration and for coming to be in our midst. And the people of Kenya, represented by the people here, welcome you to Kenya. And as a special guest, let me allow you to make your statement. Tumkaribishe Mheshimiwa Rais na makofi jameni. Welcome, Madam President.
Hello, everybody. Dear Mr. President, distinguished guests, and above all, people of Kenya, I stand here before you, deeply honored by the privilege that Kenya, a proud and powerful nation of the African continent, has bestowed upon me to address the Kenyan people on behalf of the people of Slovenia. I stand before you, humbled yet proud of how warmly Slovenia has been received and of our shared desire to see the cooperation between our two countries flourish. The Kenyan people wrote a pivotal chapter in history. Madaraka Day, the day Kenya gained the freedom of self-government, marked the day Kenya finally secured the right to shape its future. An arduous journey came to an end. The days when foreign settlers drove the Kenyan population from fertile land and forced them into poorly paid labor are long gone, but they will never be forgotten. For the struggle for the independence was anything but easy, and it came at a heavy cost. Of course, the Kenyan people know only too well that history is not just about facts. It is also about preserving and developing the fundamental values that ensure the survival of a nation. Values that strengthen its identity and, above all, its unity. Jomo Kenyatta, the man who led Kenya to independence, recognized this. He also knew that Kenya's unity alone would not be enough to secure a bright future of Africa. Africa must also unite. A strong Africa, ladies and gentlemen, means a strong Kenya. In this context, we must recall another milestone anniversary. The year 1945 not only marked the end of the Second World War. That year, 80 years ago, the Pan-African Federation was created. The founders of the Federation, including Jomo Kenyatta, sent a clear message to the world. 700 million people living under colonial rule and without rights had had enough. They demanded their place under the sun. One by one, the former colonies became sovereign and independent states, but the idea of African unity never faded, least of all in Kenya. What better proof of this vision than the most important project in African history to date, the creation of the African Continental Free Trade Area in 2018. Kenya was among the first countries to ratify the founding treaty. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the lessons of the past shape our vision of the future. In the 1960s, the world experienced a wave of decolonization. Yet in many ways, colonialism, and if I may say so, a condescending attitude towards the newly independent states did not just cease to exist, but there was a way to build self-confidence and assert oneself on the world stage. My generation, ladies and gentlemen, grew up in former Yugoslavia. We still remember the non-aligned movement of the Cold War era, a large and respected group of countries, including Kenya, that defied the interests of the superpowers and former colonial powers. That spirit of non-alignment was vital then, and it remains relevant today. We live in a world where both old and emerging powers are yet again shaping the world before our eyes. All the rest of us, the smaller countries, must not just passively observe these developments. We must ask ourselves, what about us? Are we ready to raise our voices? And Mr. President, we are ready. Both our countries are preparing for the future, and we have chosen the right path. Sustainable economic growth, protection of rich biodiversity, a strong will to keep pace with rapid scientific development, a commitment to multilateralism, to international cooperation and tackling common problems. These are the values that unite us. As you know, Slovenia is currently serving as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. Our diplomats take their role seriously and responsibly. They speak out whenever injustice is done to people all over the world, whenever innocent lives are lost. Kenya, too, brings a rich, in many ways unparalleled experience in multilateralism. The international importance of the country is reflected in the fact that several United Nations agencies are based here. Both our countries believe in multilateralism because peace, justice and prosperity should not be the privilege of some at the expense of others. We are, after all, an international community, and in a community we look out for one another. And in a community, solidarity matters. In a community, cooperation must be our goal, not selfishness. In a community, peaceful settlement of disputes, not wars, must be the norm. Only such a united community will be capable of confronting the world's most urgent challenges, such as poverty and climate change, lack of access to basic needs, and social exclusion. This is why we should be proud that there are several projects in which Kenya and Slovenia are working together to support each other in tackling this kind of challenges. Dear Mr. President, dear people of Kenya, the Slovenian people celebrate Madaraka Day with you. We are a young country, but we too have our own story of struggle for independence. We celebrate with you because we are both proud and confident nations, nations that revere the past yet look firmly to the future. We must not be discouraged by the